Okay. Well, welcome, Malaine. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
So
Uh,
welcome, Lynn. So happy to be here with you.
Thank you. You are just such a ray of light. You're so much
Mhm.
energy. I was in love with you when I met you back in 2017. I loved your energy then. I still love your energy. So much has happened.
So
You've
much.
built, pardon? Oh,
I said so much. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you built this seven-figure coaching business. You've
Yeah.
transformed so many women's lives. You've,
Yeah.
just such a powerful message of empowering women. And so can you tell us, like, where did it all begin, like the coaching and all that for you?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So for me, I had my own journey of challenges and struggles. And one of the main ones was my bulimia and my addiction to just being obsessed with how I looked and my weight and overeating, undereating, over exercise, like anything that you could have done to manipulate your body. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And so that journey of recovery to getting healthy, which I just made a decision one day that enough was enough. Like I just had a breaking point and a line in the sand moment where I was like, I actually would like to live my life. And I felt like I was a prisoner of my life because of the eating disorder. And then from that eating disorder, other toxic behaviors just shot out from, left, right, and center to drinking too much and just being in toxic relationships, etc. And so that line in the sand moment of like, I want to have a better life led me to going into 12-step communities and support group communities. And when I got into those spaces, what I realized was like, oh my God, firstly, there's more to life than obsessing over your clothes and how thin you are and what you should be eating or not eating, because that was like the small circle that my life revolved around for so long. And as I dove deeper into my own personal development, I really craved and desired to learn more for myself. But then I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if I could help other people. I'd love to give back and be of service, because if someone was of service to me in this way years ago, my life would be different. So if I could just be that kind of interventionist and help someone before they get as far down the path as me, then they won't have to suffer as much as I had to suffer. So they can bend that learning curve. And from there, once I was in that support groups, etc., I actually met people that were coaches that were working the personal development world that kind of ushered me into different workshops and steered me into the direction of becoming a life coach. And so after I completed my first round of kind of similar Landmark, I think everyone knows. I think you've done Landmark, right, Linda?
I did something close to it. It's called
Okay.
gratitude training, but
Yes.
Landmark's very close. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So that's okay. So gratitude is exactly like momentum that I did in New York City. And the gratitude trainings that Joe runs and Momentum Robinson, who runs them up there, same exact curriculum, same exact training, different than Landmark in that it's more experiential, they like to say, as opposed to like sitting and learning. So I went through the basic, advanced, and leadership programs. And that's when I knew I really wanted to coach. So I had started volunteer work and they ended up hiring me there. And then it wasn't long after they hired me that I started my own coaching practice. And that's
Wow.
kind of like the condensed, 2-minute version of how I got into the industry, and it's evolved from there. But that's how it all started, from my own struggles.
Wow. And I knew about the struggles, and I also know you live in New Zealand. What
Yeah.
time is it there, by the way? It's 8
It's
o'clock at
like
night.
1 o'clock,
Oh,
1
okay.
o'clock. Yeah.
Is it the same day? Is it Wednesday?
No, I'm ahead of you.
Oh, okay. So
Ahead of
it's
you. So if
Thursday.
you ever want to know your future, you just ring me up.
Okay, awesome. So you are from New Jersey, and when did you move to New Zealand, and why did you choose New Zealand? And I know you
Yeah.
manifested your fiance and your current husband and your beautiful
Yeah.
family that you have, and
Yeah.
congrats on your new baby girl.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm just curious, when did that whole, I think you traveled a bit before you landed in New Zealand, if I
Yeah.
recall.
Yeah. Yeah, my journey is pretty amazing. I look back on it, I'm like, wow, there's definitely movie material in this unfolding of Malaine's life. So when I started working for the company similar to Gratitude called Momentum, started working for them and I was the director of enrollment there. I was training to become an advanced course facilitator. And since you're familiar with the Gratitude trainings, you're probably familiar with the advanced course and the trainers. I really was in love with the body of work that was being delivered. And I loved being in the rooms with people and I loved being of service. And I really felt like I found a calling in the coaching industry. What ended up happening was that I was working behind the scenes more than I was actually in the rooms. I was doing a lot of admin more than I was in the rooms. And that wasn't in alignment with where I saw myself going. It wasn't the vision. And so I had actually a game plan of leaving, a step by step on how I was going to leave there and start my own business. And they kind of beat me to the punchline, which definitely bruised my ego. I was like, you're going to fire me? I've done all of this stuff for you. I brought all this money into you, etc. So it was a very humbling experience. And from that moment on, I just said, I will never work for someone else again. I will never bust my butt to make someone else money. I'm going to do it for me. I'm going to help people and I'm going to do it my way. And so the moment I left there, I started my own coaching practice. And as my coaching practice started to take off over the following few months, I realized that I was living in Manhattan at the time in the Upper East Side. And it was lovely, but I was living in a small studio apartment. I had done the Manhattan thing for almost a decade. It lost its kind of allure and shininess. Once you've been in Manhattan for a while, the shininess starts to, you start to see like the grunge of Manhattan. And I thought to myself, it'd be so lovely if I could build my business and travel around the world. Like, how cool would that be? Which also felt very scary and overwhelming. But I trusted that. I trusted that my soul was leading me to travel. And so I booked in June of 2015, I booked my first flight for August of that year. And it was a one-way ticket to Seattle. I was going to stop and see a girlfriend. And then from there, I was going to Kauai, which is the smallest island on the Hawaiian chain. And I, through a sequence of like synchronistic divine events, was led to choosing Kauai. And I ended up renting a place there for 3 months. That was, because everyone's like, Hawaii is so expensive. I'm like, yeah, cool. The place I rented was the same amount for the 3 months that it cost me to live in Manhattan for 1 month. And I was like, well, there's no mistakes, because when we get clear on a vision that we want, I feel like the universe, and we make that leap, which is really scary. The universe supports us. The universe has our back. The universe opens up and is like, don't worry, Malaine, we got you. The people that I met in Kauai, I'm still like friends with. I have lifelong friends that I met there. The people that I rented from, they let me loan their car. They took care. They picked me up from the airport, made sure I was totally settled. Like, things that you think could never happen happened for me. And so from there, I kind of continued to travel. And one of the places I stopped in was New Zealand. And that's where I met my now fiance. Because, by the way, ladies that are listening in, I thought, well, I'm going to travel. I have no husband. I have no children. I have no attachment anywhere. So why not just date? Like, why not just have a good time while I'm traveling? And that's how I met my now, husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. I love that story. I remember you talking about when you were dating and all the
Yeah.
things that you would do to manifest. That's just awesome. Yeah. And Hawaii's on
Yeah.
my list, my bucket list. I still have never been to
Mhm.
Hawaii, personally, but
Oh,
so
you'll
you
probably
talk,
never come back, to be fair, Linda.
yeah, yeah. To So, I noticed, so you mentioned how the universe shows up and supports
Yeah.
you when you make a decision and
Yeah.
do take aligned action, and all of a sudden you don't have to know how, it just all comes together. So
Yeah.
I know that you're definitely spiritual and you coach a lot of spiritual stuff. Um, what let's see. So how do you stay in, I know you have your three children and your stepson, so now you have
Yeah.
four. So how do you stay successful coaching and doing all the things,
Mm.
and like
Yeah.
what is your secret sauce? Like what do you do to keep yourself, you know,
Grounded, aligned, sane.
grounded, aligned, happy,
Yeah.
calm?
Yeah, and my life hasn't been sans challenge, like my life, I thought that when I overcame the bulimia and the different addictions, I thought that once that was done, that everything would just get easier. Now, I thought that it was a little bit challenging to find a partner, and that whole path was a challenge, meeting a partner, dating, that whole process felt really, hard at different points of my life. So I felt like once I met the guy, once I kind of, overcame those addictions and was living a healthier lifestyle, that like nothing else would touch me. Like it would just be smooth sailing, from here on out. And there's been various things that have happened in my life, as Linda knows. One of my sons, Noah, passed away last year. He passed away from a freak cord accident at 37 weeks gestation. And I've also had other events in my life aside from his death that have really rocked me. Now that obviously rocked me pretty hard. So it's like, and my life keeps getting better. My business keeps getting better. I don't stop. I'm not like, if you go look at my socials and stuff, like, there was a point where I didn't post a lot, but I've continued to keep going. So like, how does that happen? So I'm just sharing those pieces, you guys, because I want you to know that I'm not preaching on a soapbox of my life's so great and everything always works out and everything's always so perfect. Shit fucking happens, like life gets crazy. Just the other day, my son Jack gave us a scare and we had to bring him to the hospital for like stuff that I won't get into, but he's okay now. But it's like what I've realized, and when I was actually at hospital with him, and what I realized is that like life happens. It doesn't matter if you're a good person, a generous person, a loving person, a kind person. Things happen to the best of people. Amazing people get cancer or lose a loved one or have, heartbreak and heartache happen to them. And it's in those moments is who you show up and be. In those moments, I believe is who your true character is, because, it's easy to be happy and lovely when everything's working out for you. But how are you and who are you when life is not going in your favor, when life is throwing you, lemons, let's say? Are you the person that's going to make lemonade, or are you the person that's going to become bitter and hardened by the experience? And so it's like back to your question of, well, how do I ground and say sane and centered and all of that? And I honestly swear by, and you can go to my website too, you guys, because I have resources for this. And I swear by my morning routine. And I think even Linda I did a course called Magical Mornings with Malaine, because I swear by my morning routine. And my morning routine is the time that I meditate and journal and work on my prayer practice and, do different personal development things for myself. So it's like I fill my cup up first. I ground myself first. I connect into a higher power first before I open up the day to all the different energies and people that might come in, and that practice isn't for the good days. It's not for when everything works out. It's for the days when your son has to go to the hospital, or you get delivered bad news, or a family member and it's those practices that have given me the strength to walk through it with grace. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. It's so
Mm,
powerful. It's so
yeah,
important to
and
set the intentions. Yeah, set the intentions for the day. I have a practice as well. And you did.
yeah,
You introduced it to me in the beginning. I know
yeah,
there's a couple books out there now on that, the Miracle
yeah,
Morning and all of those. Um,
yeah.
and so you kind of get up extra early to do it. I'm just trying to, because I know sometimes it's, with all the children. I have, my son, he's grown, but
Yeah.
just remember, a lot. I have the dog and he's, something to take care of every day, you know? So
Totally. Well, and I think that that's the biggest crux too, Linda, right? Is like we have other things going on in life. And so then it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Do I get up at 4 in the morning to do my practice? Do I meditate and pray for an hour? And I know people that have, you know, practices that last several hours and do it differently. As a mom of toddlers and a newborn and a teenager and all the things, what I find works for me is I'm like, first and foremost, sleep is a self-care practice. So me getting to sleep, early and also nourishing myself through sleep, that's important. So I'm like, am I going to get up at 4 in the morning so that I can meditate for an hour? No, because right now sleep is a bigger nourishment than me meditating for that hour. But I still get up around 6 o'clock and I give myself at least 10 minutes of meditation. Now, would I like it to be more, eventually? But I say to like, especially mothers, especially people that are caregivers, and have other things going on in our life, which we all do, be gentle on yourself. Start small. Start with a gratitude practice that's only a couple minutes and a meditation practice that's only a few minutes. And then start to expand on that. But if you give yourself the minimum of 20 minutes in the morning just to ground and center, set an intention, I think that that's better than nothing at all?
absolutely. Yep, absolutely. I notice the days that I don't do it. Oh my gosh, I notice. Like, but the days,
Totally.
it's just such a thing. So, when you do the meditation for 10 minutes every
Yeah.
morning, give or take, is it guided
Yeah.
meditation? Is it just breathing? Is it visualization also, or just trying to
Yeah.
breathe and just curious?
So, yeah, no, it's cool. I think that it can be anything that you guys want it to be. So it can be guided. For me, I normally like to do what I call a listening practice. So I set the intention that I go into quiet. Sometimes I play like a meditation music, right? But not a guided meditation per se. And in my listening practice, what I'm going in is setting the intention to listen to my higher power, who I choose to call God. You can call it whoever you want, universe, divine, etc. And in that practice, I like to just quiet my mind and focus on my breathing. And I just say to myself or out loud, here I am. Here I am, God. I'm ready to receive the message. Now, higher power, God, divine, whoever you're choosing of that is, knows where you are because you're an extension of creator. So it's not like, oh, yep, there's Malaine. Remember her? We forgot about her. No, God knows that I'm sitting there on my bed. And when I set that intention of, I'm here to receive, I'm here to receive the message, I'm here to receive as a meditation of sorts, it's kind of like an active meditation. The messages start to come through. And those messages are my marching orders or my intention or my actions, if you will, for the day. So it might be like, yeah, do this or don't do that or go this way or, take a bath and relax more, etc. That's usually the meditation I do. Sometimes, if I like to spice it up, because here's the big key, anytime it gets boring, change it up. If it's not fun for you, change it up because life is supposed to be fun. So if you're doing it to check it off the box, change up the practice. Sometimes I'll do a little guided meditation or I'll play the music and not do the listening practice. So it can be different as
Yeah.
long as it feels good for you?
Yeah, I've been doing the gratitude work for over
Mm,
10 years, and
yeah.
I mean, when I travel, even I bring the journal and I do every night
Yeah.
right in there, and
Yeah.
it's very powerful. And but lately, I'm like, as long as whether I say them out loud or I write it somewhere different, it's like as long as I'm doing the gratitude, but it doesn't have to be the exact way I was always doing it because
Totally.
that's what I teach in one of my courses. It's like once it becomes like a task or like you don't really want to do it, there's another way you can do it. Um,
Totally.
is there any book or like any mentor or coach famous, that changed your life or inspired
Mm.
you? I think I remember you talking about Denise Duffield Thomas as one of your people from back.
Yeah, I really enjoy her stuff. I would say my favorite book as of late, because it obviously evolves and changes over time. There's a book called Busting Loose from the Money Game, and that is amazing. Like it is next level. If you haven't dove into personal development work, it's great because it's a great starter. If you have, it's great because there's some refresher, but it also expands and opens your mind even more. I love that. And I would say one of my favorite, I have a couple of favorite mentors, but one of my favorite mentors to work with was Jessie Itzler, who's married to Sarah Blakely and is, a multimillionaire. She's a billionaire. They have a very abundant and thriving life. And basically, they make enough money to not have to work. And to not have to do anything. And yet, every year he constantly takes on new challenges, physical endurance challenges to stretch himself. And he gives himself other challenges throughout the year to stretch himself. And he's constantly inviting himself to learn new things, etc. And that to me is just really inspiring because I think there's a lot of mentors out there preaching stuff, but then stop the learning for themselves, stop the stretching of themselves and rest on, yeah, well, I did the work 15 years ago. Yeah, well, that was 15 years ago. What are you doing now? How are you stretching yourself now? What are you, learning that's new? I'm constantly, every year, I'm like, okay, what's one new thing I can learn to add to my toolkit so that I can share? Last year I got my doula certification so that the moms that I work with, because I'm a business coach, so the moms that I'm working with as a business coach, I can say, oh, you're just about to give birth. Okay, this is how we're going to weave your business. But I actually know if they're like, this is happening or that's happening, I know the medical terminology and the things that they can do to support them in pregnancy and in birth and in postpartum in conjunction with their business because of that certification. So it's like, that's what I admire about mentors is the ones that keep the student mentality.
Yeah, keep it fresh and
Fresh,
keep,
exactly.
yeah. Okay. Um what are so you do you still practice manifesting? What are like three things that someone can do today to manifest their desires? Do you have any?
I think when it comes to creating a life that you desire, first and foremost, go read the book or listen to the book Busting Loose from the Money Game. It talks a lot about the concepts that I go into in depth as well. And one of the things that I talk a lot with my clients is that you're the creator of your reality. So if you want something to show up, it's first and foremost taking ownership and responsibility for your life. For so long, why I stayed stuck in my addiction, particularly with bulimia, is because I was blaming other people, particularly my mother, for giving it to me. It's not my fault. It's her fault. She's the one that taught me how to do this. She's the one that instilled these beliefs in me that I had to be really thin. She's the one. And that whole time that I'm blaming her, I'm not living and I'm not taking ownership or responsibility of my life. And so it felt like everything was always happening to me. And so if that's how life's feeling for you, it's time to just say, okay, cool, enough's enough. I'm going to take ownership and responsibility. I'm the creator of my reality. And that shift alone opens up a whole new world and reality for you, right? Because now you're taking your power back, right? You've given your power away, and we do it, especially as women over the years. We give it away to so many people, men, body image, etc. When we take that back, now we have the power to create. And once we have the power to create, it's about really getting clear on, what do you want to create? Like, what's the life that you want? And it's so funny because we go through all this schooling, and not once does anyone really ask us, hey, Linda, Malaine, what do you actually want to create? Like, what do you actually want in your life? Most of the time, we're just told, oh, you should do this. You should get a degree. Oh, you shouldn't go to art school. You won't make enough money. You should go get a teaching degree. That's stable. Or you should go get this. We're never really asked these questions. So it's giving yourself permission to ask the question, what do I really want? What's the vision that I desire to create? Now, thinking big, vision-wise, is a skill set. It's not something that's gifted to us. And if you have 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 6 decades, 4 decades, however long you've been alive, however young you are. I worked for a plastic surgeon once, and he used to always say, how young are you? Not how old are you? How young are you? And they're like, oh, women loved that when they came in.
I know. I have a chiropractor I just found here in Florida, and
Yeah.
the first visit, he was amazing. The second visit, he said, you're super young. And I'm like, oh, I love this guy. Like, just him
You're
saying,
like, I love you.
I'm 54 years old, and he says I'm super young. So yeah, I love him. But yeah,
You're like,
exactly.
yeah, exactly. So once we get clear and we give ourselves permission to start thinking big, and we practice thinking big, we practice getting clear on what we want, we practice writing it out, creating a vision board, writing it out in a journal, whatever feels expansive for you, but practicing, and then letting it get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Because again, remember, it's a skill set. It's just like going to the gym. You're not going to lift 20 pounds the first go round. You're probably going to start with a 5-pound weight, and then you slowly build up because those muscles have atrophied. Your vision muscles have atrophied, especially if you're not taking ownership in your life. So we take ownership, we got really, really clear, and then we step into the identity of the woman or man that has that vision already. So if one of the pieces of your vision is to, have 10K months or 15K months, then you ask yourself, in that identity of the person that has a 10 or 15K month, how do I walk? How do I talk? How do I eat? How do I think? So the likelihood, if you have enough money, if you have more than enough, let's just use that piece as an example, you wouldn't be complaining that you don't have enough. You wouldn't be moaning about how inflation's so high and gas prices and, oh my God, how can this administration do this to us? Those wouldn't be your conversations because you're thriving. So the money might not be actually showing up, but the first step to letting it show up is to talk in the identity of the person that's wealthy, right? The person that has the vision. For example, when I was single, walking around and complaining about being single kept me single. It wasn't until I started to act as if I was in a relationship, dress nice, do my hair, buy pretty lingerie, and allow myself to feel what it would feel like to be in a relationship, that then he showed up. And those are like the 3 things that I'd say are super supportive to bringing to life that which you desire.
Thank you for those. Those were amazing. So powerful. Yeah, we kind of have to step into who we want to be
Yeah.
first before it shows up. So
Yeah.
I've heard that so many times, like, just, and then you're not going to be overeating because of lack, and you're going to be like, there's plenty of food, it's
Totally.
so when you mentioned the news and how they're, now, do you guys watch the news? Because I don't.
So I don't watch the news. I don't watch the news. Now, my husband likes to watch news because he likes the sport updates, because he's really a big cricket fan, which is a huge thing in New Zealand and the UK and Australia. So he'll like to watch it. And so before, like, for a while, I was like, I hate watching the news. Why are you doing this? You're disrespecting me, and it became a clash of, he wants to watch it for the sports update and purely for the sports update, and then he shuts it off. And I realized, like, wow. And this is like spiritual growth, right? Like, spiritual growth happens in real life, not in workshops. Personal development happens in real life, not in workshops. I'm like, okay, Malaine, you get to look at why you keep getting mad at this or triggered by this. And then I realized, okay, cool. He can watch that. And I can literally like disassociate, go into another room, not listen to it. It's all good. So that's the answer to your question, but I don't watch the news.
Yeah, I do not. I haven't for years. And my son's like, good, don't. It's all like
It's all
lies, or
bad.
it's just all,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely fear monger. It's definitely fear,
Yeah,
instills
because
fear.
they have an agenda, and it makes sense, they have an agenda of what they need to push in order for them to get paid, in order for them to stay on air. And, usually it's not in interest of you.
Right, right. I know. And so many people believe the other way, that it's there to
I
protect
know.
them and all that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I just moved, to Florida 6 months
Yeah.
ago. And I remember talking to you right before a little bit. And
Yes.
you told me, cause I was scared about, renting. I had been a
Yeah.
homeowner for 25 years, and just the whole thing, it was very scary for me. And
Yeah.
you told me about Grant Cardone and how he rents. And I know he
Yeah.
bought a house now, but I mean,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, financially he rents, and he rents his
Yeah.
cars, and
Yeah.
yeah. And I'll
Yeah.
never forget, that was really supportive. I appreciated that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah,
But
and I think like the home he bought it, but is also going to make money off of it. Like he buys so much real estate and then flips it or makes money off of it, etc. But like the place that he lives in Florida is rented. Like he rents a penthouse and leases stuff. But I'm so proud of you for making that leap and that decision to move there, because again, you just did those 3 steps that I was saying. Like, you took ownership and responsibility. You're like, no one else is going to do this for me. Like, no one else is going to come save me, so I'm going to take ownership. I'm going to change my reality. You got clear on what you wanted, and then you stepped into the identity of the person that had it, and then you had it.
yes, thank you. Yep. And it's still like, I'm still growing, as we know, we always are,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
still evolving and growing and healing and healing. And I'm such a different person. Like, and I'm doing a little dating now, and I know I'm getting closer and closer and closer to finding the right person.
Totally.
So, I'm very careful what I speak into the universe.
Mhm.
Very, very careful on that. And yeah, I'm building the coaching and doing some other things. And then this podcast, which is super exciting, because I
So
love
exciting.
having these high vibe, amazing people like
Mhm.
yourself. They're going to
Mhm.
educate, inspire, and motivate people. And yeah, so
Mhm.
this has been really a beautiful conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for
You're
having me and creating a
welcome.
platform. It's exciting, because I think, like I was saying, thinking big is a skill set. And the seed gets planted in conversations like this with other people, where they're like, whoa, look at the life Linda's living. Oh, she sold her house and just picked up and left. And oh my God, look at Malaine. Like, she's been through all these different things and still is smiling and laughing with Linda. So hopefully today, one person that listens into this, the seed is planted for you to start thinking bigger.
Absolutely. So tell people how they can find you. I know you have so many courses and
Yeah.
amazing, so much on your website.
There's a lot of different goodies. You guys can find me Malaine Lea Butler on all handles. And that's also my website. Right now, the next course I have coming up is called Money Making Mamas, which is geared towards mothers. And what I'm really gearing myself towards lately is business coaching for moms, really helping mothers either increase their income from home or learn how to start making an income from their home. Because something I'm really passionate about is mothers being able to be emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, and financially available and being able to provide for their children, which I find doesn't happen a lot when they work traditional jobs and are expected to do all the mom things.
That's amazing. That's such
Mm,
an amazing gift to the world and to the
thank you.
mothers. I know
Thank
I
you.
was a single mother and doing the real estate, and then I got out of that temporarily and did a different business, and then I needed more money, so I went back into it. But yeah, you kind of want to spend time with your children while they're little, and you don't want to be
Yeah,
miserable the whole time you're doing it because you're at some job that you hate. So that,
totally.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And like kudos to you, Linda, like being a single mom, that's hard, like that's so challenging. I was just speaking to a single mom the other day that has 4 children, single mom, hates her job, doesn't get to see her kids. It's like, let's change this because it gets to be different. It gets to be easy, especially for moms who are raising the next generation.
Exactly. And we were all programmed that it's got to be hard and it's, money doesn't
Totally.
grow on trees. And I had to reprogram and I'm still working on my money mindset. I mean, I've done a ton of work on it, but it's just one of those things like brushing your teeth that you have to keep doing or working out at the gym. You
Totally.
have to keep doing. You have to do it.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly. Brushing your teeth last week won't help you today.
exactly. But I'm excited for this book you recommended, Busting Loose from the
Yeah.
Money Game. So
Yeah.
is there any spirituality in that book?
So listen into it. I think you'll really enjoy it. I don't want to give too many secrets away,
Okay.
but basically the concept of it is that your reality is your reality and you're creating your reality. It's the hologram, if you will. And I'm just in Linda's reality because she created me to pop up and vice versa. So yeah, I think spiritual wise, it basically you're the extension of creator. You're connected to God, right? God, creator, higher power, source. I forget what he refers to source as, but basically your source energy, you're an extension of creator, which, also other books that I really love. Another mentor of mine, Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God, same teachings. Um, and Busting Loose from the Money Game is similar teachings that he teaches, but it gives you a process and a step by step on what to do when you get frustrated that money's not showing up, or you get feelings of anger, hate, etc. towards money, which is fascinating because it really breaks you free of the quote unquote money game.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally do affirmations and start like when I start noticing. I mean, you and I have done a ton of work with the money mindset for me. I mean, it's just been a
Yeah.
journey. It's
Yeah.
been a journey for me because
Yeah.
it goes back so far.
Yeah.
And I was just having a conversation on a different podcast where I was in a waiting room at a dentist office and I was listening to these ladies and there was just all this negativity around the money. And I was like, oh my God, I got to shield like, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear these negative because I have a good relationship with money now, and I want to
Yeah.
keep that relationship. And anyway, and when I find a nickel on the ground, I'm like, thank you, God. I pick it up. Thank you, God. I'll
Yes.
take 10,000 times that. Um,
Totally.
another coach of mine, she's a spiritual coach, Michelle Barr. She's amazing. And she'll say, if she finds money, she's like, thank you. I'll take 10 times that, or money
Mhm.
shows up from whatever reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it typically happens that way, and
Totally.
but it's just being grateful, yeah, for everything you have, keeping it organized and having. I loved how was it I think you were the one who taught like to leave it around the house in different spaces and different areas. I love
Yeah.
having, yeah.
Yeah, like having money in your wallet or like putting some money in your underwear drawer, or just because it makes you feel more abundant. When you open your wallet, it's continually empty. It's like, it also doesn't have to be tons of hundreds of dollar bills. It could be a couple $5 bills, and a couple $5 bills here. And that just feeling of abundance. It's also creating an environment that feels abundant to you. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're spending all this money on a new home or living on a waterfront. It could be putting some fresh flowers out on your kitchen table every week, or lighting a candle in your little things can make you feel abundant and decadent. It doesn't have to be the big things. And it is usually the little things that make the energetic shift of you feeling more abundant.
Yeah. And when you shift your energy, you attract more abundance, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Do you want to talk about your foundation for Noah?
Yeah. So I actually have a foundation that I started in honor of my son. It's called the Noah Alexander Foundation. And literally, if you type that into a Google search bar, it'll pop up. All the proceeds for that go to other moms that are bereaved mothers who have either lost a child from stillbirth or SIDS or neonatal death, which is actually all very new to me. Like, I wasn't aware that this happened and on the scale that it happened. So in the US, since Linda's podcast is based in the US, I'll give you some stats over there, which is 1 in 160. So one woman in every 160 will experience a stillbirth, which is,
It's
I
a
guess,
lot.
kind of rare, but not as rare as you think it would be,
I
right?
feel like
It's
that's a lot. Yeah. 1 out of 160.
160. Yeah, that's kind of high. And so, the mission of the foundation, and I've also started another company called Angel Mama House. And the mission of both of them is to really spread awareness around that this is happening, and to also create the resources and tools for angel mothers who are bereaved mothers, to have those tools and resources that they need to navigate life after loss, because there really isn't much, and not at the magnitude or scale that there should be.
Wow. So Angel Mama House, and then
Angel
what
Mama
is it?
House. Yes.
No.
And if you type that into the Google search bar, Angel Mama House, you'll find our website. We have a membership starting in the new year that has all the resources and tools for anyone that's ever experienced loss of a child at any gestation or any age of life. It could be 20 years ago or yesterday, and you're welcome. It's what we call a safe haven for angel mamas. And the foundation's duty is really to raise money, which will be donated to the Angel Mama House too, to have people that can just get the membership for free. But also, I've raised money and we donate care packages to the hospital, comprised of things to just support the mom. Like, I like to say they feel like a soft, warm hug, because that's not how you feel on the day that you find out. And you're basically handed like a Chinese takeaway box, like if you've ever gone to like a Thai or a Chinese restaurant, they give you these little takeaway boxes. That's what was handed, with like a gem, like a sticker on the top. And they're like, here, these are for like his, keepsakes. And I thought, is this it? Like, is this all I'm getting? And so the packages that I create are much different for moms.
What a beautiful thing.
Yeah, thank you.
It's awesome. Thank you so much for doing that. And then the Noah Foundation, what is it
Yeah.
called?
Yeah, the Noah Alexander Foundation
Mm,
and the Angel Mama House. If you guys
okay.
have that. Yeah. And if
Awesome.
you go to my Instagram account, or if you go to any of my handles or pages, you'll see that I'm talking about all of it a lot. So you'll be able to find everything.
Noah has his own page, right? Does he have
Yeah,
his
he has
own
his own
Instagram?
website, and he has his own, and I created an Instagram handle, which I've since changed the name to Hey Angel Mama. It used to be Dear Noah Alexander, and I've shifted it because I really want to make sure that people can identify, like, oh, she's speaking to me, whereas that people might have not been as sure. So Hey Angel Mama is an IG account that I created to support angel mothers in being able to navigate life after loss, because I have so many years of personal development work and training that I navigated it quite beautifully and gracefully, but I know others don't have the same tools that I have,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
you
You
know?
had your husband, you had your
Yeah,
family and your other children,
exactly.
and so many people
Yeah,
don't have all that. And, it's
exactly.
very upset. Yeah, it's tragic.
Very.
Thank you for doing all that.
So welcome. Thanks for
Been,
asking. Yeah.
yeah, it's been
Mm,
a beautiful conversation. I look forward to more conversations. Thank you
yes.
so much for
Yes.
coming
Have me back
on.
anytime, Linda. Thanks for the platform and the chats.
Absolutely.